Hello, it's Thursday, May the 6th, and we are having a Fun Facts Friday tomorrow. Fun Facts Friday will take a break over the summer. The devotions will continue, but the Friday part of it is getting more and more difficult to film because of vacations and so on that are looming, and perhaps normality returning. But we will be back in mid-August with Fun Fact Friday. But today we're in Isaiah, and we're in chapter 14. And chapter 14 begins with two verses that focus very much on God's people. The Lord will have compassion on Jacob and will again choose Israel and will set them in their own land, and sojourners will join them and will attach themselves to the house of Jacob, and more in verse 2. And it's looking looking at the return, I think, of God's people from Babylon, which was the theme. Babylon was the theme of chapter 13. Here he addresses Assyria and briefly the Philistia in in verses 28 through 32. Assyria is the big player. Assyria is the dominant force. It's the great superpower, like America or Russia or China. Assyria was the great superpower, had a reputation for being a world-conquering militaristic, perhaps the best trained army in the ancient Near East, perhaps Greece being second, but by far and away more vicious and terrible things that the Assyrians did in war. And they will eventually, of course, be crushed to the ground by the intervention of God that Isaiah will record for us in chapter 37 of the angel of the Lord who destroys 185,000 Assyrians. And the lesson, as he addresses Assyria and Philistia, is that the one in charge is God, that history falls out according to a pattern that God has written down. And in the midst of the mayhem, the colossal mayhem of international politics in the ancient Near East, God has his eye on his people. And though his people are disobedient, and though he will punish his people, there will be a remnant according to the election of grace that will survive and ensure that the seed of David will occupy the throne, seen initially in the first coming of Jesus, but seen ultimately in the second coming of Jesus and the establishment of the new heavens and the new earth. So as you read these somewhat difficult chapters, because they're about parts of the world that we may not know or fully understand very well, they're meant to comfort you, comfort one another with these words. Isaiah is saying, I will never leave you nor forsake you. As we navigate the craziness politically and economically and pandemically and ecclesiastically and many other lees of 2021, the message is still the same. God is in charge. Well, Fun Facts Friday tomorrow. See you next Monday.